Neama Romani live again, talking about. So this is my son.
You can answer it. Nobody's on yet.
Hi, how are you?
Daddy, I was not helping me with my homework.
Oh, she's not? Okay, I'll have mommy talk to her, okay? Oh, you and mommy
Sorry,
did?
guys, we're taking a quick pause.
I'm taking a quick sorry, I'm doing a video for quick. Do you want me to talk to Isla or do you want me to talk to mommy? Isla?
Helping me is watching TV.
Okay. Let me talk. The daddy duties, you gotta juggle. I'm talking to my son. My daughter is not helping him with his homework. Hey,
Get right back to Johnny Depp in a little.
Isla, I'm doing some videos for work. Baby. Can you please help Aiden with his homework? Isla. Can you please help him, baby? Because we gotta go to Kuma. He's gotta get it done before he goes, okay? I'm really busy at work. Can you please help him? You got about 30 minutes. What?
Why can't mommy help him? Why can't we
Just please help him. Alright? She's really busy. Please, baby, help him, okay? No, her computer's not even here. She doesn't even have it. Okay, Isla, please help your brother, okay? Love you. Thank you. Bye, baby. No. You gotta leave in like 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Please. You want to see what I'm doing right now? I have a camera here. There's Julia. Everyone is waiting for you, guys.
Okay.
All right. Neama Romani, back at it. We're talking Johnny Depp, Amber Heard. For those of you who haven't been following, I have been covering this case since the beginning, alternating between court TV and law and crime. Sorry, that's my son again. Aiden, yes?
I was saying once this episode...
Okay, let her finish her episode and then she'll do it. And if she doesn't, just let her finish, okay? And then she'll do it. Okay. All right, let me have your mommy get involved, okay?
We got some questions coming
All right,
in. If you want to multitask, why was Jennifer Howell's deposition so short?
Yeah, I was really underwhelmed by Howell's testimony. I thought both her and Morgan Knight were going to be bombshell witnesses today. And really, it was pretty unpersuasive in my opinion. She basically testified that she never saw Johnny use drugs or alcohol, which we know isn't true because that's something that he's admitted and pretty much every witness has admitted. And the second was that she never saw Depp strike Heard, which again, very few witnesses have testified to that. Really, the only two that have testified to any type of violence whatsoever, obviously Heard herself, Whitney, and Ellen Barkin.
What happened at the very end today?
That was Jennifer's testimony. So today we heard from several witnesses. We wrapped up with Dr. Shaw, who's a Stanford psychiatrist, basically testified that Dr. Spiegel yesterday, the defense expert, violated this ethical prohibition of diagnosing a public figure. Then we heard from a Children's Hospital employee that really talked briefly about the fact that we all know Amber Heard didn't make that $7 million donation, half of which, $3.5 million, was supposed to go to CHLA Children's Hospital here, which is a great hospital, by the way, just down the street. And then we heard from Jennifer. I fully expected, there was a sort of a cryptic karma Instagram post that Jennifer was going to come and just kind of blow this out of the water. And it was really sort of short testimony that certainly wasn't bad by any stretch, but I think all of us on social media expected fireworks, and we didn't see it at all.
We got almost 1,000 people on here.
All right, so just to recap, I'm Neama Romani, legal commentator, former federal prosecutor, trial attorney, Harvard law grad. Been doing this for 20 years. I cover trials every day for Court TV and Law and Crime. I alternate Court TV today, Court TV tomorrow, Law and Crime Thursday. Check me out. So I'm covering this case gavel to gavel, and I'm doing TikTok lives every night. Follow us. for daily TikToks, Instagram Reels about the case. I'm answering all your questions. I just shot a video about the TMZ motion for protective order, motion to quash that they just filed today. I'll give you my analysis and predictions, but jump in with any questions from today's testimony or anything about the trial.
Okay, next question. Who is the woman behind Amber, first row, with a PC?
Yeah, that's someone, I believe, that's part of her legal team. I think that was the woman who got the notepad today. I think people were asking about that. You know, there's obviously not enough people to sit at the two counsel tables. So sometimes junior attorneys, paralegals, other members of the team, they actually got to sit in the audience. So it's not uncommon. But I believe she's part of the team because Amber Heard handed her some notes, handwritten notes directly.
What happened after the jury left?
And there was some discussion today in terms of matters that they're not supposed to hear. But really, there wasn't really anything substantive. Ultimately, and sadly in this case, a lot of that is happening during sidebars and not before or after court is in session.
Why was Amber's lawyer going through past objections?
Yeah, that was a fascinating series of objections today. So a week ago today, Camille destroyed Elaine during Heard's redirect. Camille was objecting. Elaine was unable to overcome the objection. Well, today partially was Elaine's revenge. She did a very good job with the witness Morgan Knight, who the owner of Hicksville. And Elaine was bringing leading objection after leading objection, and Camille was unable to overcome them. Not a good day for Camille Vasquez today.
Will the jury see Jennifer Howell's complete statement?
The answer is no. So these videotape depositions. So what happens is, here, I'm gonna have Julia take it, or have someone else take it. So what happens during these videotape depositions is the parties, and there's attorneys on both sides there. They are asking questions, they're cross-examining, they're redirect. Everything that we see during testimony in court, including objections. But what happens before it's played to the jury is the parties agree on what parts of the videotape deposition they want to play. They're not playing the whole thing, and I'll explain why. And those objections are already ruled on. So we're not seeing the back and forth between Elaine and Camille or Benjamin and Ben, for instance, that we've seen, because the judges already ruled. So what we're seeing is actually an edited version of the testimony, objection-free. And because the parties have limited time, and we're really running out of time, I think before today, Heard's team only had 4 hours left, and they went through a lot of that today. I think the parties are being much more sort of cautious with their time, so they're not wasting any.
Do you think Johnny has a strong chance?
I think Johnny's doing very well. I did not think that he could do this well, frankly. He's someone who lost in the UK. He lost on appeal. I thought this trial, frankly, would be a disaster, and he would similarly lose. But he's made an amazing comeback. He's done very, very well in terms of his testimony the first time around. I think he's presented better witnesses. The lawyering has frankly been better. And then tomorrow, if my prediction holds true and the reports are accurate, we're going to see Johnny Depp the second time on the witness stand. He's going to close very strong.
Does it matter that Johnny fell asleep at the end?
Well, I think we're all falling asleep during the witness testimony. Sorry.
I think we got it under control.
You
We
got it
came with
under
a
control?
compromise.
Oh, did?
Yeah. Who do you predict will win as of today?
This is a tough question. Depp's team has clearly done a better job. He's won in the court of public opinion. I think probably 90 to 95% of you watching right now support Johnny Depp. But from a legal perspective, he has a significant challenge to overcome. And let's kind of go through some of it. On Amber Heard's side, she just needs to prove one incident of domestic violence, just one. even if she was initiating, even if Depp was fighting back. This isn't a criminal case. This isn't a self-defense case. None of that applies. And Johnny Depp has to prove his case by clear and convincing evidence, which is a higher standard than your typical civil case because he's a public figure. He also has to prove actual malice on the part of Amber Heard. Malice, and this is something the jury, they're going to get in written instruction. The judge is going to verbally instruct them as well. Depp has to prove that Heard knew the statement was actually false or that she acted with reckless disregard for the truth.
Will the jury see Jennifer's email?
I don't think so, because unless it came in today, she's gone. So, very short testimony, much less than I expected. I thought she might testify in person because the videotape depositions aren't nearly as effective, and I thought she would testify much longer and be much more effective, frankly. It was a lot shorter than I think all of us anticipated, which I think is a little bit disappointing and anticlimactic for the Depp team.
Okay, we have about 1.6K viewers on here.
All right.
Want to take a pause?
Yeah, I'm just going to take a quick...
Neama is texting his children.
Texting my kids right now. Take a quick break. I want to get all your questions. All right, guys, let's jump back into it.
Okay. Do you want to, for the new viewers, let them know who you are?
Yeah, so just so you guys know, I'm Neama Romani. Tell you a little about myself. Graduated Harvard Law School. Been practicing 20 years. Former federal prosecutor, trial attorney. I've been covering cases for Court TV and Law and Crime for years now. And I've been doing this trial almost every day, alternating between the two networks. So I know all the witnesses, I know the case really well, and I'm here to answer all your questions. We do daily videos on Instagram and TikTok explaining some of the issues in this case. Follow us so you can be up to date on all the legal issues, including the evidentiary objections, the TMZ filing today, the legal strategy on rebuttal, and what to expect tomorrow when maybe Kate Moss and Johnny Depp take the stand.
Do you think Amber already lost her counterclaim?
I think Amber has done a poor job presenting the damages part of her counterclaim. I thought her damages witnesses were pretty weak, really speculative, and basically what they're saying is, well, she got Aquaman 1, probably because of Johnny Depp, right? Although she's saying it's because of her own acting skills. But even if she got it on her own, they're sort of assuming this career trajectory that would just take off. She'll be Aquaman 2, and she'd get more and more roles in terms of the length of the role, leading roles, and that type of thing. It clearly hasn't happened. I don't know if it's because she's a bad actress, studios don't want to touch her, she's just not likable. But regardless of what happens in this case, I would say that her career has taken a significant hit, and a lot of it is self-inflicted in my opinion, not necessarily because of Johnny Depp.
Why did Johnny's team have to give up 30 minutes of time?
Well, because they're using their time basically the parties are allotted a specific amount of time. So when they're using time for Dr. Shaw, for instance, and they're they're using time for Dr. Shaw and they have to set forth his expertise from to qualify as a witness. That's time. The voir dire today, which is something that typically happens during jury selection, but you can actually voir dire the witness. And voir dire is a Latin term, it means to seek the truth. But it essentially, when we saw the owner, Morgan Knight, he was testifying outside the jury about, what he knew. Has he been following the case? Has he been tainted by the other witness testimony? That's time that, is counted against Depp's team.
This is a good one. Can you give a high-level recap of today?
Yeah, great question. So today was the beginning of Johnny Depp's rebuttal case. So we heard from a series of witnesses. Let's kind of go through the highlights. Some of them, were expert witnesses or foundational witnesses, right? Let's set aside kind of the psychiatrist. Let's set aside CHLA. I really wanted to focus on the key rebuttal witnesses, right? Those are the witnesses that are going to come and say Amber Heard is lying. That's the whole point of rebuttal. Well, obviously Depp is going to be a rebuttal witness, probably. Kate Moss is going to be a great one. But the two real rebuttal witnesses we heard from today, and I expected more. I think they did okay, but were Morgan Knight and Jennifer Howe. Morgan Knight was the owner of Hicksville. That is the sort of bougie trailer park here in California that Amber Heard and Depp stayed at. And this is from the infamous incident in 2013 involving the cavity search. He testified that, Heard was being verbally abusive. Yes.
Try to censor as much as possible for TikTok, just in case.
Yeah.
You're good.
Heard was being... Knight testified that Heard was being verbally abusive. She actually physically pulled Johnny, and he didn't see any incidents where Depp was physically abusive. But he got tripped up a bit on cross-examination. I think Elaine did a good job. One of the problems with Knight's testimony, by the way, Knight flew all the way from California to Virginia to actively participate in this trial in a way that Jennifer Howell did not, which I'll talk about. Live witness testimony is much more effective. But, he's really kind of injected himself into this case, or at least that was the argument that Depp's team was unable to overcome. And he made a couple mistakes. First is he kept talking about his own abuse and his own trauma and tried to bring that into the case, where really this is a case about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. It's not about Knight and whatever past bad relationships you've had. So that's number one. Two, he sort of testified that he interacted with them for 45 minutes to an hour. It was good testimony for Depp, but I really expected much more because the voir dire, he basically was going to come out and say, I was with them for a significant period of the night and I didn't see any violence, much less the sort of cavity search that was really the subject of the 2013 incident.
Do you think Johnny is going to win? This is asked many times.
Yeah. Let me just quickly recap Jennifer Howell as well, because that was also a big part of the rebuttal case. Again, Jennifer, Whitney's best friend or former best friend, I expected her to come in and completely undermine her testimony. And I thought Whitney was one of the more credible witnesses for her, especially in relation to the staircase incident where she was allegedly assaulted. I thought she did a better job, really sort of more credible job. She talked about Amber Heard's jealousy, how she may have initiated the fight. I thought she came across as more credible. I thought that Jennifer Howell was going to come and just completely give a different account, and that wasn't the case. All she really said that was real substance. Johnny didn't use drugs or alcohol as far as she knows, which we know isn't true. And then Amber never reported any violence to her. Did that really move the needle for Depp? Maybe a little bit, but certainly not as much as I expected for a rebuttal witness. We'll see if the flight attendant and Kate Moss, they come testify tomorrow, they do better.
What will happen if the jury can't decide?
It's a great question. In the case of mistrials, which means we got to start all over. Certainly a possibility, but I can tell you that jurors, even in this case, they want to go home. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on them to return a verdict. And I don't think the judge is going to declare a mistrial until there are days and days of deliberations without a verdict.
Will TMZ have to tell us who sent the cabinet video?
Great question. Just shot a video on it. So for those of you who don't know, let's kind of take a step back. Big filing today. TMZ filed a motion for protective order and a motion to quash, preventing one of their former employees from having to reveal the source. We can reasonably assume if it wasn't Amber Heard, it was someone that was working at a direction, an aide, a publicist, an attorney. TMZ doesn't want to reveal their sources. I don't care if you're Fox or CNN or TMZ. No journalists want to reveal their sources. And there's two legal bases. So just kind of going back to the arguments in TMZ's motion. First is a motion for protective order. That is when a party files a motion to prevent an abuse of discovery. So discovery is what we attorneys have in civil cases to get information, right? One is a deposition. We've talked about that a lot. You can subpoena documents. You can subpoena witnesses, compel them to testify. And there's different types of written discovery as well, like interrogatories that have to be answered under oath. So what Depp's team is doing is trying to force a former TMZ employee to come testify in the case. Well, TMZ is trying to prevent They're saying it's an abuse of discovery, and they're trying to actually quash that subpoena or have it declared invalid. And the reason they're saying is that they have a reporter's privilege, which is a general principle that protects journalists from either the government or courts, forcing them to reveal their sources. And almost every state in the US, including California and Virginia, have shield laws that protect journalists. So I expect TMZ to win, but watch my TikTok video today for more on that notion.
Will Johnny Depp get his career back?
I think he already has in many ways gotten his career back. I mean, he's won in a way that I never thought possible in terms of the public perception in this case. I mean, we cover cases all the time, and it's rarely as lopsided as this, especially in a civil case. I think the vast majority of the public, even if they believe that something happened to Amber Heard, they think that maybe she's exaggerating the extent of her injuries and minimizing her role in this really kind of toxic relationship. Of course, the diehard Depp fans believe that he never laid a hand on her at all.
Compare witnesses' professionalism.
You know, like, we've had different types. I'll compare the two most important ones, Depp and Heard, and I think Depp has presented much, much better than Amber Heard. He comes across as a lot more credible. He's made admissions regarding, I think, drug use in particular, that he's talked about his own abuse, physical abuse at the hands of his mother. And I think he's at least come forward and, accepted some responsibility for this in a way that Heard has not. She said that she's only struck Johnny once. She's really minimized her role in substance abuse when it's clear that she did participate in it. So I think in terms of the two key witnesses, Depp has presented better. But if you want me to comment on a very specific witness, let me know. Obviously, there have been dozens in this case, so I can't go through all of them right now. Rebuttal witness that Heard's team tried to exclude. He's the guy who owned Hicksville. He showed up late. He wasn't on the witness list. So the two bases that Heard's team tried to get him excluded were, one, he wasn't on the witness list. You got to disclose your witnesses to the other side. So they said, look, he's a rebuttal witness. We just found out about him yesterday. And that's why there was sort of some back and forth with how were you contacted via text message from a former employee? When did you first talk to Camille Vasquez last night? And the second was, well, witnesses, unless you're an expert witness, you can't be in court or you can't be listening to the testimony of other witnesses. And the reason is this: judges, juries, they don't want your testimony tailored to that of other witnesses. They want you to testify from your own independent recollection. And that's why you heard Knight say, hey, I haven't been following the trial. That's why I can testify from my own recollection. But I think that's where the extra 30 minutes came from, because there was some voir dire outside the presence of the jurors.
So they want to know about Spiegel's professionalism.
Yeah, so this is the Goldwater rule. So for those of you guys and girls who are a little bit younger, Barry Goldwater was a senator. He was a presidential candidate. I think he ran against Lyndon Johnson. And many years ago in the 60s, some psychiatrists were asked about his fitness to be president. And a lot of them opined and gave the opinion that he's unfit. They diagnosed him with all these psychiatric disorders. So the APA, the American Psychiatric Association, they said, listen, you can't do this. If it's a public figure, you really shouldn't be diagnosing them unless you actually have treated them, examined them, and so forth. So what Dr. Shaw, the Stanford doctor today, he said, listen, Spiegel, yesterday, when you're diagnosing Johnny Depp, that was actually unethical. And that was the real and only reason he testified today. If you saw a lot of the other objections, remember, he's a rebuttal witness. So you can't really bring in new opinions. He could only rebut opinions that came out during Heard's case in chief. That's why you saw Heard's attorneys objecting to a lot of Shaw's testimony as outside the scope of the limited opinion he was offering. Really the question is, and I think a lot of time was spent on this, look, I mean, even with former President Trump, I would see psychologists, psychiatrists testify about his mental state all the time. Is it unethical? Maybe. I'm not a psych, but is it something that's going to really move the needle and advance the ball on the issues in this case? Not really. I think they spent way too much time on him today.
What was Amber's team doing at the end today?
That was a specific question. They were generally addressing some issues, I think, for tomorrow. I think really what we want to know is, and again, a lot of these discussions are outside the presence of the jurors. They're at sidebar, so we don't know. Sometimes we can get some clues based on like some of the objections. If they're speaking objections, they'll come out. But I assume we're talking about testimony and witnesses. I know, for instance, the judge was supposed to rule on Kate Moss testifying. She was supposed to testify via videotape. We'll see if that actually happens. I don't know. But that's really what to expect for tomorrow. It may be the last day of testimony. So is it flight attendant? Is it Moss? Is it Depp? Is it someone else? We'll see tomorrow.
What's going on with TMZ trying to stop witnesses if they haven't heard it before?
Yeah, so let's take a step back. Again, Neama Rahmani, I've been covering this case every single day for Court TV and Law and Crime. Trial lawyer, former federal prosecuted drug cartels, human trafficking for the Department of Justice. Worked at some large law firms. At the start of my career, I represented huge companies like Disney, used to represent them, Marriott, Roman Catholic Church. Now I'm my own firm, and I'm a legal commentator. So cover this case every day. Follow us for analysis. I want to give you my analysis of the TMZ filing today. TMZ filed a motion to quash, motion for protective order. We talked about what that is, but basically to stop their former employee from disclosing their sources. Journalists always want to protect their sources so they can get more information and they can report, and if they have to reveal that, it's a problem. I don't care if you're TMZ, Us Weekly, or Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. Doesn't matter. This is something that all journalists are going to do. So they filed a motion saying, listen, we have a reporter's privilege. There are shield laws that protect us from having to disclose this information to the government and the courts, much less a party in a civil case like Johnny Depp.
Will Kate Moss bring it home?
We'll see. You really want to save your best for last. The trial strategy, you want to start strong and finish strong. Put your kind of weaker, questionable witnesses in the middle. And tomorrow may be the last day for Johnny Depp. We're running out of time. So is it Depp? Is it Moss? Is it the flight attendant? I think those would be some of the stronger witnesses if they put on the stand. We'll see who shows up. Again, the rebuttal witnesses today, not bad. But Knight, Howell, not the most compelling performance today. So, Depp's in the lead, but if he really wants to win, he should finish strong tomorrow.
Why doesn't Camille talk for Johnny Depp all the time?
Well, the attorneys, there's several of them, they split up the witnesses, right? Because you want to do your research. You want to make sure you're ready for cross-examination. You want to prep your witnesses for direct examination if that's one of your witnesses. There's just too much going on. So it's not uncommon in a case for at least 2 attorneys. And obviously here you have even more, 3 on each side splitting up the witnesses.
Someone said they love you on Court TV and they love your Twitter. You want to shout out your Twitter?
Oh, yeah. Twitter, at Neama Rahmani. Obviously, TikTok, at West Coast Trialers. IG, at West Coast Trialers. Follow us. We're live tweeting this case. And I really try to put the legal spin on it because I want to make law accessible to everyone. Obviously, I'm a lawyer. I like talking about this. So one of the good things about this case is people are asking questions about objections, about burdens of proof, closing arguments, cross-examination, direct. And I love the law, so follow us. I will make the law accessible and understandable to everyone. That's my job, both in this case and every other case I cover.
Someone said closing Friday. What's on Thursday?
Yeah, so Thursday we might have some pre-instructions, there's a lot of jury instructions. We may have some final witnesses. The judge wanted to give some time to make sure that we can get closing arguments done. On Friday, the jury is going to have the case and probably start deliberating after Memorial Day.
What happens if Depp wins and if he loses?
Yeah, if Depp wins, he's going to get damages. So there's 2 parts of any civil case: liability, damages, right? Liability is fault, who's lying, who's not, what we've been talking about. But the second part that really hasn't gotten a lot of attention are the damages, right? That's why you're hearing about these expert witnesses, right? The entertainment expert, social media expert, you got agents that are testifying. Because look, they're not W-2 employees where if they're out of work for a month or 2, you can easily calculate their lost earnings, right? They have past lost earnings, they have future lost earnings. There's emotional distress. That's why you have some of the psychs testifying as well, not just go after each other, but just to show the harm to them, the general damages that we're talking about. So you're going to see in closing argument, when the attorneys get up there, they're going to talk about both. So I don't know if it's, it's reportedly Ben Chill, but let's say it's Camille Vasquez. Whoever gives the closing argument for Johnny Depp is going to say, these are all the reasons you, the jurors, should find that Amber Heard defamed Johnny Depp. And once you find that, that's question one. The next question is, did she act in malice, clear and convincing? But then there's a whole section on damages. They're going to argue and they're going to put up their specific numbers. These are Johnny Depp's damages. Past economic, lost earnings from Pirate 6. They'll put a number up there. Future, for future movies that he's lost out on. His general damages, emotional distress, loss of enjoyment. I mean, all those types of things. They're going to come in and they're going to put specific numbers and ask the jurors to return those numbers.
Okay, this is a fun one. They want to know where you get your suits, and they said you're looking good.
Oh, thank you. Usually Nordstrom or Bloomies, so I appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay, and then where did you go to law school?
Went to Harvard Law School. Graduated Harvard Law School at age 22. One of the youngest people ever to do so. Follow us. I'll give you a little bit more information about my background as well. I've done it all. Represented some of the largest corporations in the world. Worked for the largest law firm in LA at the time. Was a prosecutor for the Department of Justice, federal prosecutor, so just to put people in prison. And now I have my own law firm. I work with great people like Julia, with about 25 lawyers, and we represent victims in civil cases, so we represent plaintiffs.
Okay, back to Johnny Depp. Do you think Johnny's witnesses today helped?
I thought they helped, but this is the end of his case. He saved time for a reason, right? And I expected more from someone like Dr. Shaw, way too much time on. I think they expected more from Morgan Knight, but Elaine did a good job, I think, of tripping Vasquez up on some of the objections. But I think he's going to come out and just say, Amber Heard's an absolute liar, and this is what I saw, this is what I didn't. But she did a good job, I think, impeaching him. But really, Jennifer Howell, we've all been talking about her for weeks now. I thought she was going to come out and just blow it out of the water, and really was somewhat underwhelming, her deposition testimony, in my opinion. And look, you can't force the witnesses to come in person, but if really this is one of your best witnesses, your rebuttal witnesses, fly them in, have them come. That in-person testimony is much more effective than videotape deposition.
How much time do they have left?
I didn't get the final numbers today when I signed off. Just texting my kid. Did you, Julia?
No, but I can look it up.
Yeah, let's look it up, because that's important, because judges said, like, once you're out of time, you're out of time. Setting aside this additional half hour that Depp's team had.
All right, let's see. So as of today, he has 15 hours, 51 minutes remaining, and Amber Heard has 4 hours and 9 minutes remaining.
I think that might not be up to date, because those numbers are eerily familiar to the numbers from yesterday.
This is 3 hours ago, so...
Yeah, so
right before.
Yeah, so let's look at those final numbers. I think Depp may have some more time, but Heard's team is rapidly running out of time.
Okay. Oh, somebody said 10 and 2.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
15 and 4. Thank you, folks on TikTok. 15 and 4 were the numbers pretty much from yesterday, last I checked. So 10 and 2 makes sense. So imagine if your Heard's team, one of them... I have a lot of criticisms for it, but they've wasted so much time on bad witnesses, long cross. Let's not forget, when Johnny Depp finished his case in chief, like his witnesses, including his testimony, Heard's lawyers had used more time than Depp's lawyers had. What kind of sense does that make? So they're clearly running out of time. They're moving quickly, and that's one of the reasons, for instance, they couldn't call, Heard couldn't call Depp to the stand as a witness in their case. Why does that matter? There's two possibilities for Depp to take the stand again. The first is that Heard's lawyers call him. Why does that matter? They get to ask questions first. They get to cross-examine him. As a hostile witness, they can lead. But now what's going to happen, because Johnny Depp's lawyers wisely save so much time, is Depp gets those softballs. And we know he's going to knock it out of the park like he did the first time. He was an amazing witness. I expect round 2 to be even better. And that's the last thing the jurors may hear from before they go in that deliberation room after closing arguments.
Okay, let's see. saw a good question down here. Oh, how do you feel about Elaine's overall tactics?
I've been one of Elaine's biggest critics. I thought last week, I was doing court TV. I distinctly remember a week ago on Tuesday, and it was Amber Heard's redirect, and Camille just took her to school. I said at the time that Elaine should go back to law school or take an evidence class because she couldn't overcome even basic objections. Well, today, maybe she didn't get full revenge, but she got revenge on Camille. I think she did a very good job objecting to Camille Vasquez's questions of Morgan Knight on direct. Really tripped her up. It was objection leading. There was like 5 or 6 in a row. Camille got frazzled. I think she was unable to recover. So not the best day for Camille, and a pretty good day for Elaine, in my opinion.
Will Amber's team call rebuttal witnesses also?
I don't think they have any time. I got 2 hours. You got to save that to cross-examine Johnny Depp, Kate Moss, flight attendant, whoever they put up. I mean, they have 5 times as much witness time. So again, this is a mistake, and the judges made it clear from the beginning of the case that once you're out of time, you are out. So yeah, there is a possibility of what we call a sur-rebuttal, but I think practically speaking, Heard's team just doesn't have enough time.
Who was the best witness today, and who was the worst?
I think Morgan Knight was still the most effective. He was there in person, and he did a lot to sort of rebut Heard's argument about what happened in Hicksville, right? I think he could have been better in many ways. Not talk about his own experiences, his own trauma, but whenever you have an in-person witness, they're always going to be better than video team, almost always. So he came there in person, he testified. Look, he's arguably an objective, unbiased witness. Now, of course, a lot of folks will say he's following these Johnny Depp fan pages on Twitter, and there's a lot of back and forth as to did he follow, did he unfollow, who's following him. But if you kind of just, take a step back, setting aside his social media, he's someone that owns this campsite or, bougie RV park, whatever you want to call it. And he's someone that came in and told his jurors, look, what Amber Heard said actually wasn't the truth. She was the one yelling at him and berating him in front of everyone. He didn't do anything. So I thought he was the best. As far as the worst witness, I thought too much time was spent on Dr. Shaw. I liked him, British guy, Stanford doctor, but do you really just spend that much time on the Goldwater rule to impeach Dr. Spiegel, who frankly wasn't a good witness yesterday anyway? So I like the liability witnesses more than some of these rebuttal ones.
What do you personally believe will happen?
I personally believe that this was a mutually violent relationship. I think that Amber has a lot of blame here in terms of being verbally abusive. I think she's initiated some of the violence. I do think something happened. Personally, I think something happened. It wasn't attempted murder like Amber Heard described or this felony domestic battery. Let's not forget Amber Heard said, I thought Johnny Depp was going to kill me. Depp hit me so many times that I basically lost count. The pictures and videos don't support that, right? And I think she lost some credibility with some of her other things. But I do think there was some mutual violence here. And the question is, the jurors kind of take a step back and they say, listen, they were both violent towards one another. Doesn't that make them both victims of domestic violence and perpetrators as well? In which case, both claims have to fail.
If Amber sold the video to TMZ, does that prove malice?
Well, malice is her state of mind when she published the Washington Post op-ed, right? So it's not like being a bad person, not like your non-legal definition of malice. Malice has to apply to the defamatory statement. So, and the way malice applies to the defamatory statement is Depp needs to prove by clear and convincing evidence that Amber Heard knew the statement was false when she made it, number one, or she acted in reckless disregard for the truth. The videos to TMZ relate to the divorce and the damage. It's really, arguably, although it can impeach her because she said she didn't give it to them, it could show that she's a liar. You're not actually seeing direct violence by Johnny Depp, even though he's destroying property. So kind of real I would separate those two issues. The malice is a separate issue related to the op-ed, which is the ACLU ghost wrote, by the way, and not the leaking of the video to TMZ, which I believe, if it wasn't her, one of her team did.
Is the TMZ ex-employee still going to testify?
That's a great question. TMZ is trying to prevent her from testifying. That's why they filed that emergency motion. They're saying, listen, our employee, current, former, doesn't matter. We have standing. This is about us as a news organization. We can prevent our employees from having to reveal their sources. Depp, you cannot subpoena them. So we're going to see some litigation about the reporter privilege and Virginia Shield laws that protect journalists from having to be compelled or forced to tell the court who gave them information.
If you were Johnny's lawyer at this point, do you think you'd win?
If I were Johnny's lawyer, I certainly think I've won in the court of public opinion. Here's what I do during closing argument. I think this would be a genius move, and this is something I've suggested. Listen, Johnny Depp doesn't want to get money from his ex-wife. This isn't about money. It's about clearing his name. So I get up in closing argument. I say, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for listening. Thank you for giving my client, Mr. Depp, the opportunity to finally tell his story. You know, so many people have accused him of being a wife beater, of being violent, when, you know, he really wasn't. And that's all he wanted, for the truth to come out. So I ask that you find in favor of my client, Mr. Depp, but only award $1 or $100 or whatever the case may be. Because even if he wins, is he really going to collect money from Amber Heard, who probably doesn't have the money, isn't going to make money anytime soon, because I don't think anyone's going to hire her, and even if he gets some charity anyway? I think that goes a long way in sending a message to the jury that, hey, this is about the truth coming out and not about money.
Somebody said he should just write his own op-ed. Who should give closing argument, Ben Chu or Camille Vasquez?
Yeah, I've heard a lot about this. So Chu's more senior. He was reportedly going to give the closing. I know some folks have said that maybe Camille Vasquez should. Sometimes what you can do is break up the closing. You have an opening argument and you have a rebuttal also in closing. So maybe that will happen if the judge allows it. Look, it's more of a style thing. I thought Camille did an effective job on cross-examining Amber Heard. It was brutal. It was great. Today, not so good with respect to Morgan Knight. Again, she got tripped up on the objections. But sometimes attorneys that are good in examining and cross-examining the rules of evidence and really kind of going after someone may not be the best in summarizing all the evidence for the jurors, such that you really kind of get them to return the verdict that you want, both in terms of liability and damages. So tough for me to say, because I don't know who's going to be better at closing and delivering that final knockout blow, Ben Chu or Camille Vasquez.
We have 2.3K people watching.
Thank you guys for watching. Just to recap real quickly, Neama Romani, Harvard law grad, former federal prosecutor, former big law lawyer, represented huge corporations like Disney, Marriott, Roman Catholic Church. Now I have my own firm, 25 lawyers, about 100 staff. I do live trial commentary every day on Court TV and Law and Crime on every case. But obviously for the past 5.5 weeks, we've been covering Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. So thank you for following me on Court TV and Law and Crime, tweeting at me. Follow us on TikTok. We do videos every single day. I think we dropped 3 videos today. I'm talking about TMZ, talking about why Amber Heard isn't going to be prosecuted, talking about why we're seeing so many videotaped depositions in this case. That's not a good look. And you can see all this on TikTok. We want to make law accessible and understandable to everyone. So thank you, all of you who followed us, and we love your questions. Please keep them coming. Let's do it.
We got, please be Johnny Depp's lawyer. It's not too late.
Yeah, I would love to step in for Johnny Depp. I think, you know, I have to be the first to confess. I thought that after the UK, he was dead in the water. I mean, he got destroyed in that case. Judge found that it was substantially true that there were at least 12 incidents of domestic violence. He went up on appeal and lost. But what he has done in this case with him and his legal team has been nothing short of extraordinary. One of the best comebacks I've ever seen. He's done an amazing job. We'll see if he can actually win the case. That's the challenge altogether. Watch my video from yesterday to see why Amber Heard has at least the advantage when it comes to the law. But I think he still may win. So great job by Johnny Depp and his team.
What will happen if Amber loses and can't pay?
And so we don't put people in jail in this country if you can't pay. So once you get a judgment, it's a piece of paper. So here in California, you get it for 10 years. You can automatically renew it for another 10 years. So again, I don't know how it works in Virginia, but in California, at least you got 20 years to get the money. So how can you get the money? You can garnish wages. You can levy bank accounts. You can attach real property like a house and sell it. So there's a lot of ways to actually collect a judgment. The question, though, is if Amber Heard's never going to work again, will Johnny Depp ever be able to collect? But really, do you think he wants to? Whatever he makes is probably just one movie for him. So if he's actually hired by these big Hollywood studios again, he'll make more money in this case than he ever would by trying to enforce a judgment against his ex-wife.
Could there be a mistrial?
Yes. A couple ways for there to be a mistrial. One is if some evidence comes in that shouldn't come in, party could move for a mistrial. But again, we're 5.5 weeks late in. The last thing a judge wants to do is mistrial, because guess what? You got to start all the way over. Let's say a juror is doing something improper, watching his Tik Tok, right? Talking to other jurors about it. You can't do that. You can only base your verdict on the evidence in the case, what they hear. So juror misconduct. But really, the third most likely way you get a mistrial is if the jurors can't agree on a verdict, right? The verdict's got to be unanimous because you have less than 12 jurors. You got 7 over there in Virginia. They can't come to a unanimous verdict, then guess what? We got to start this whole thing all over again.
While they're talking to the judge, is time still running?
Yes. The sidebar time, and that's why Amber Heard's team lost so much time. If you saw, they were asking for sidebar after sidebar during Johnny Depp's testimony, wasting the time. Part of the issue is, I think the judges stopped them from doing speaking objections. So generally you object, you maybe give the reason, like leading, but you're not supposed to argue it in front of the jurors because the jurors aren't supposed to hear all that. The judge has now asked them to stop making speaking objections. If they want to discuss something, they got to approach. That's why I get all these sidebars. It's a break in the action. The jurors hate it. I know the viewers don't like it. For me on Court TV and Law and Crime, it's great because it gives me a chance to kind of comment on the evidence in the case.
Why didn't they bring up the dishonesty with Amber and Elon about the baby?
So Elon Musk was on the witness list, and I'm sure at some point the judge ruled that, him, James Franco, they're just not going to be relevant, right? And the reason I think this is the case is because Kate Moss didn't testify during Depp's case. She's only a potential rebuttal witness. So the judge probably said, listen, if there's any exes that are going to testify as to peacefulness, that's not relevant, right? I'm not letting all these exes come in. So obviously Elon Musk there may be some overlap, but maybe it was after, Franco was after. But that's what in the kind of cases in chief, the only ex we saw testify was Ellen Barkin because she's the only one that allegedly saw violence on behalf of Johnny Depp. I don't expect to see Elon Musk in this case or anything about him in this case because I think it's been excluded.
A couple people want to know about your law school experience. I think a lot of people are interested in law more than ever now.
If you guys are thinking about law school, I can tell you a little bit about my experience. I was really young when I started Harvard Law School. I was 19 years old. My first professor was Elizabeth Warren, and she destroyed me. For those of you who don't know, she's the Democratic senator from Massachusetts, former presidential candidate. Taught me contracts, and probably one of the smartest people I've ever met. I've had some other pretty famous professors teach me. Elena Kagan, who is now a justice on the Supreme Court, was one of my professors. Alan Dershowitz, famous or infamous criminal defense lawyer, represented Donald Trump, was also one of my professors. So I got a lot of Harvard Law School stories. We can do a whole separate live about that one day.
Are we going to hear a verdict this week?
No. Closing arguments are going to happen on Friday. Jurors may get the case, they may deliberate for a very short period of time. We're not getting a verdict. Now, for a criminal case, I would expect the judge to maybe say, hey, you all are deliberating over Memorial Day weekend. This is a civil case. It's about money. I don't think that's going to happen. We'll probably start deliberations on Tuesday. But we'll probably find out Thursday or Friday if the judge is going to make them deliberate over the weekend.
What can we expect from Kate Moss' testimony if she does testify?
Yeah, Kate Moss, I think, is going to be a huge witness, right? We've heard so many people talk about the staircase incident. And why is the staircase incident important? Because, one, it's the only alleged incident where someone else was assaulted, right? I mean, we heard about the wrist and the flight attendant. We heard about the wrist with the friend in Hicksville. But for someone to actually come and testify live that she or he was assaulted was really Whitney. I get it. It's Amber's sister. But still, it's a live witness. She came and she testified to this incident, testified pretty vividly that Depp struck her. Also, it's an important incident because Heard struck Depp, and it's the one time that Amber admitted to hitting Johnny, or at least connecting. So, important incident. Also, we had 3 very different accounts of what happened. Obviously, we heard Johnny's story, we heard Amber's story. The relevant parts of Amber's story were, 1, that she admitted to hitting Johnny, but 2, her mind thought about Kate Moss. Oh my God, Johnny allegedly did something to Kate Moss, pushed her down the stairs. Well, I expect Kate Moss to come and say that didn't happen. And the problem with Amber's testimony was this. When Whitney came and testified, she said, listen, this whole fight, it started because of jealousy. Amber saw something, I don't know if it was a tablet, iPhone, whatever the case may be, some text messages from someone else. She went to a jealous rage and started this argument. That's something that Amber Heard did not say when she testified, so I think she lost some credibility there.
All right. Let's see. Do you think Amber's lawyers get upset with her?
I think it's probably very frustrating. Look, there have been some unconfirmed reports that is taking a pretty unreasonable position, in my opinion. Hospital witness today, right? Saying, listen, I didn't get the $3.5 million, you know? Why not just be honest and say, listen, I lied when I said I donated the money. I needed it to pay these lawyers. I was broke. I was embarrassed. I shouldn't have said that. For her to get up there and start talking about, I pledged it, but I didn't really donate it. It just, again, I would be upset if I were a juror if someone got up there and lied to me like that.
I think it cut out for a second for everyone. So after you said frustrating, they didn't hear part of it.
Okay.
Do you know?
Yeah, so the question was, would you be upset or frustrated if you were Amber Heard's lawyer? Look, I don't know who's calling the shots, but there are certain times in this case where I believe that Amber Heard has lied. The biggest one, of course, being when she said she donated the $7 million from her settlement to charity, half to the ACLU, half to Children's Hospital. Well, clearly she didn't donate it. She tried to get around it by saying she pledged it. I thought that was a pretty, I don't want to say bad argument. It was just a bad lie. She should have just honestly said, listen, I was broke. I was embarrassed. I don't want everyone to think that, I lied, but I did lie, and I lied again, and I perjured myself. Because I had to pay the lawyers. And I think if she did that, she would come across as more credible instead of saying, well, I pledged it. That's just bad. So I would be frustrated if I were her lawyers because, again, you don't have to lie to win the case. If she were just to admit some of this, admit to being violent, admit to being dishonest, I think she'd have more credibility, and I think the jurors would like her more.
Can you explain more about the slap motion?
Yeah, so a slap motion, not a slap like this. This is really important. So, some states have what's called a SLAPP law, which is a strategic lawsuit against public policy. What does that mean? It basically means that if it's a First Amendment friendly state, like California is, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, defendants can actually file a motion at the beginning of the case to get it dismissed on First Amendment grounds. So it happens a lot in defamation cases. So, because California, and by the way, if you win, you get your attorney fees. Not only do you get your case dismissed, so there's an incentive for attorneys to file this. So, Johnny Depp's lawyers desperately tried to get this case and keep it in Virginia. Why? Because the Washington Post headquarters are there. Not Washington, D.C., but Northern Virginia. That's where their headquarters and servers are. That's why the case is in Virginia. But there was a real possibility that this case would happen in L.A., where Julie and I are, and Johnny Depp and Amber Heard live a few blocks away. They used to on Broadway. Or in New York, where the ACLU is. And both those venues are more defendant-friendly. They're more liberal. They're more First Amendment protections here. So there's a real possibility that if this case were in L.A. and Amber Heard got the right lawyer, a judge would actually have dismissed Johnny's case using a slap motion.
Everyone's yelling at me to plug my phone in because it was frozen for a second, but it's plugged in, so we're good now. Thoughts on her bruise kit wording in her testimony?
Yeah, so the bruise kit, right? So there's a few possibilities when it comes to Amber Heard's bruising. So there are legitimate pictures and videos of her bruising, right? There are bruises, but they were caused by something else, filler, Botox, some sort of dermatology or plastic surgery procedure. It's just fake, it's just makeup, or it's Photoshop. I think if you're Johnny Depp's team, in closing argument, you gotta come up with some theory to kind of explain this. I know people are all over the place, but the jurors are gonna want something to hang their hat on. Look, I get it that the bruising is not serious compared to Hurt's testimony, but it looks like there's something there. So you got to argue something to the jurors. So whether it's makeup, whether it's something else, I expect Depp's team to have some sort of response for that in closing argument.
Apparently it keeps freezing and cutting out, but I'm not sure why. We're on Wi-Fi and phone is plugged in. Maybe we'll take a quick break.
You want to take a quick break?
Yeah, get back to it. We'll figure out why it keeps freezing.
Okay, we'll get back on.
We'll be back.
Okay. All right, guys, let's take a 5-minute break. We'll be back.